There we go. It's Richard Hatch. I've got someone that wants to say hello.
Richard, the tribe has spoken.
They haven't spoken yet. Hi.
Hi. Did you speak to Charlie Parsons?
I have not, and I'm so grateful, but I don't know what to do. There's a lot in these 20 years that I would like to share, and I don't want to overwhelm him. So I'm trying to figure out how to organize what I want to talk to him about and what I want to say. I don't know how much he knows. I don't know how close he is with Mark Burnett. I don't know what you know. There's a lot that has happened.
Okay. Well, oddly enough, I was speaking to Sarah, who was on the season 1 of the UK version yesterday, and she knows Mark Burnett. So I don't know whether you need to speak to Mark Burnett as well. I may be able to get her to talk to him for you as well, if you want to speak to him.
Oh, so you don't know anything then? No, I know Mark Burnett very, very, very well. And I went to prison for 5 years because of
course, yeah,
his not having come clean. You know, he bribed the Malaysian officials to get us into the country.
Right.
And so it became a very complicated tax situation. And I never attempted to evade any tax. I reached out to the IRS and asked who had paid what to whom.
Sure.
Anyway, crazy situation. And then the 10-year reunion, Mark came up and he hugged me and he, if there's, that was horrible what they did. If there's anything I can do, And then when I really needed him to connect with the Malaysian officials and get writing from them, I wouldn't have had to do anything. Anyway,
wow. Yeah.
He told his wife to not help me, and
oh, really? Wow.
Disconnected. Yeah.
No. Wow.
Yeah. Kind of awful. Anyway.
Okay. Well, let's go to more positive things. You obviously were the first winner in the year 2000. 20 years ago now. That's astonishing. And even now, having seen so many seasons myself, I don't think I've ever seen anyone look more comfortable than you did.
Thank you. I think I played really, really well, and I expected to come back to kind of 54 million viewers and like the MVP. How'd you do it, etc.
Yeah.
I hadn't anticipated what unfolded, which was people didn't get the game. Right. They just didn't understand it. So I was a villain and Machiavellian and evil and all kinds of things. Rosie O'Donnell had us on her talk show and gave everyone a car and gave me a box of rice. She hated me,
Wow.
That kind of thing. It was really, really fascinating to me.
That's just really strange, because obviously I watched it with my son and season 8 as well, All Stars. And we loved you. We thought you were great. So I never understood.
Well, now... Yeah. You people, all these during the pandemic, throngs of people are reaching out to me. Villain? I don't get what are they talking about? The zeitgeist, the cultural, something changed and people understood outwit, outlast, outplay, and they didn't get it then. Yeah. And I played boldly and didn't care what people thought. And, it turns out being gay, being naked, and being an atheist weren't so popular in America in 2000. Sure. Ellen DeGeneres was fired when they found out that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's the first time I'd encountered homophobia. It's the first time I'd encountered bigotry in general, and it really destroyed my life. It's a crazy thing.
I think you get that a lot worse over there than we do here. I'm not saying it doesn't exist over here, but I think it's worse in America than it is here, from what I can gather.
It's changed. It was getting better. Now it's getting worse because of Trump and all the rest of that. But crazy. Yeah. Wow. But I love the game, and I've never missed an episode. The game itself is fantastic. Never mind all this behind the scenes crap.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And that first season, when I was saying you looked really comfortable the whole time through, did you feel really comfortable the whole time through? Or were you just putting a brave face on it? Because obviously it must be hard. It must be really hard to do. There's no way I could do it. I have to admit, I could not do it.
Well, you could. You just have to keep repeating $1 million, $1 million, $1 million over and over and over in your head.
Sure.
That's what I did. So it looked hard. It was way, way harder, but it wasn't as if I were comfortable. I was a wreck most of the time.
Right.
In the beginning, wondering, what did I miss? these people aren't even playing the thing that I thought we were here to play. I was wandering around with folks who I thought, I'm missing something. They're hugging, they're crying. I love you. What? You just met me. What? That kind of thing. And I tried to think it through, and I did pretty well. But it was really tough to figure out if I was missing something and I was the one, because nobody else was playing. But soon, relatively soon, I realized, no, they're just slow. They're just not getting it yet.
And that helped. That helped a lot, of course.
That gave me some more confidence, and maybe that's when I was actually feeling the way I looked. I started to feel better and better and better as the game went on, and more confident, until I caught them cheating. But
it's got them cheating.
Oh, I caught the producers feeding Kelly, and
oh, really?
And she'd been sharing her food with Sue for the whole game.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it was crazy. I shut down the whole production, yeah.
I mean, one of the best things about the first season, of course, was your, I guess, surprising alliance with Rudy, really. That was one of the great things about it. I love that whole friendship that you had with Rudy. And it was, it was amazing. I was very sad to hear of his passing a few years back. But yeah, I mean, it was a lovely, I think that was one of the big things of why Survivor was popular. I think that whole thing was a big part of it. I don't know if you agree.
I do. I think that was something that caught America's attention, and they weren't sure what to do with it. But the fact that Rudy was as kind of just crotchety, outspoken, whatever he was, and still didn't care about my being gay or whatever, really. He just, he's fat and he's queer, but he's smart. He made all kinds of amazing comments that they turned into t-shirts. But he and I had a decent sense of who each of us was. We were comfortable with ourselves. We knew who we were. And I knew that right from the beginning on the boat. I could see he was a military guy. Turns out they put him there to be in conflict with me. He's Navy, I'm Army, I'm gay.
And the opposite happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fantastic, isn't it?
I loved it. He really was an interesting character. And then we became friends afterwards. And my mom and his wife and et cetera. And Marge died before he did. And Rudy lived to 92. He was 72 years old when we started that game.
Wow, I didn't realize he was that old. I knew he was
crazy.
Not a bit, but not that old.
Yeah.
So what was the best experience for you? What was the best part of the experience for you? And what was the hardest part of it?
Well, gosh, the game itself was, I guess, something I would have paid to participate in. When I learned about it, I thought that's what I do. I go into the woods in Canada, in Alaska, I've traveled, and I love to disappear into the woods, and I find it rejuvenating and interesting and fun. So I would have paid to kind of participate in this kind of a game. And my academic background is psychology, so combining them. So that part was just kind of exciting for me, just really, really. And the idea that I could win money on top of it, oh my gosh. Yeah. But the part that was challenging, and I hadn't really expected it, was how difficult it was to focus on all these people I cared nothing about. I didn't know them. I knew I had to get rid of them. Yeah. It was really challenging to kind of get into their heads and kind of, I don't know, you're disconnected. It doesn't seem like a long time, but you're so totally disconnected from anyone and everyone you know or care about. And in being that disconnected, you aren't understood and aren't going to be. So that was, it just emotionally really, really challenging. And that's why a lot of people can't manage their emotions, why they cry, why they break down, and those things, when they happen, they really undermine your game. So it was really tough to do.
I can imagine. Yeah. And All Stars must have been even harder, I guess. I mean, obviously you already would have known, if you never missed an episode, that then you would have known all of the people that were on there with you as well, known which people were possibly not trustworthy as well.
True, but here's what made it harder. In order for me to not be perceived as if I were manipulating them, I had to be who I imagined they imagined I am from the first season.
So you I had really fully yourself. You were kind of being a parody of yourself. Is that
I had to be that guy that I thought they thought I was from watching the first season, right? Otherwise, they're going to think I'm shifty or playing them or whatever. Sure. So it was a very, that's part of the, okay, well, I got to get naked because that was constant. I was always naked. They think I'm this. I got to be that. I got to be that. Oh, it was the first game. The original was exhausting. The second one was unbelievably complicated mentally, but fun. And I did feel like I had a good grasp of it. I felt like I understood what was happening. And I really clearly laid it out, particularly for like Colby and Kathy, who I told, if you do get rid of me, you will be next.
Right.
And they were. But I just wasn't able to convince them. They should have kept me because I could have, we all three could have gone farther, but they were too certain that they would not necessarily get another chance to get rid of me. And they weren't able to recognize that they needed me to move themselves further along.
Sure. And of course, you were due to be on Winners at War, and it's a bit of a sore subject for you. But understandably, I mean, I told you on email that my son and I watched that season, and we didn't think you did anything wrong. Most of your cast backed you up. Well, pretty much all of your cast backed you up. And my son said it all. He said, Richard's gay for a start, and also, why would he do it in front of everybody on camera? Oh. So
when you say do it, it's really amazing to me how that took off. Literally nothing happened. And in fact, what did take place was a concoction in Sue's mind. And I can't get in there, so I don't know really what was going on, but we think she was trying to extort money from CBS. She literally turned around after having gotten almost to the end and came back into the game toward me to kind of cross, and nobody understood what was happening. I didn't know, and I was just doing like this. We ended up in arbitration over that because she did try to sue CBS or whatever. So we got all 4 cameras and we watched the footage, and I literally never touched her. She touched me on the side. I never touched the woman, but everybody talks about, why'd you touch her with your penis? Why'd you do this? Why? Oh my, to this day, I still get comments sometimes on YouTube about sexually harassing someone, which I've never done in my entire life. Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense because, like I say, it was actually on the show. They showed Boston Rob, and you had, I can't remember, they all backed you up saying, we didn't see anything. We didn't see anything at all. And then she had a meltdown the following day. Well, it probably wasn't the following day, but whenever it was.
And I was gone. So I literally didn't know anything had happened for months until it aired. Yeah. And they called me and said, by the way, before this episode airs. And I was like, what? I mean, I literally had no idea that there had been anything that had taken place.
I can't believe you still get messages to this day. It was like nearly 20 years ago.
To this day. And people are that uninterested or incapable of discerning what's true. So they just believe this stuff. I think it's a big part of why Trump has people don't care or don't understand how to think critically. It's fascinating to me, but sad. That season was also a very, very interesting turn that most people don't know about with relation to how Jeff makes friendships with certain people and not with others. He made the wrong call. I don't know if you knew, when Boston Rob fell in the water. Was it Boston Rob and somebody else? I can't even remember now exactly. But we ended up going to tribal council, and I was voted out. It wasn't.
I'm glad you said that, because I didn't think it was either.
No, he's admitted it now.
Oh,
he's apologized, et cetera, et cetera. But when I look back, I still don't know if it was intentional, because he didn't want me there anymore, and he wanted Rob. So it's a crazy thing. Reality, real. What's really true? It's not just a game. There's all this behind.
wasn't that put forward as the reason that you weren't on to Winners at War, because they thought they didn't want it to blow up again, that stuff? But it's something more to it than that, though, isn't it? It's not just that. I don't
Correct. They used that, and that's what was in the social media, and they're hiding behind that. But they didn't like me from the beginning. Jeff didn't. Jeff was very, very, I'm going to say homophobic, very, very uncomfortable with who I was. And even in the first days of my winning, you can see him in the interviews with Mark Burnett, me and him, and many, many interviews across the country. We were doing all kinds of different things. How uncomfortable Jeff was with anything I said or what I did. It was really something. And I think it stems from his really not getting the game. He was clueless in the first game. Okay. And at the end, when I took my hand off the pole, he had a full-on mental breakdown. Screaming at the top of his lungs, yelling at me, "What the hell you think you're doing? You're ruining the game." Da, 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 da. No concept of what the game is and how I had made what I think is a classic move that to this day people recognize as something they might never have thought of, but that I had to do in order to go to the end.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you have your issues with Jeff. I mean, I still think he's a great host.
He's really good at what he does. Although I do think now his ego's in the way, and there's much more of him. Let's not say guys, and than there is of the participants, and viewers lose because of that. If we had more of the more of the participants' personalities and what they're actually thinking and going through, I think the show would be better off like it was originally. And he's just inserting himself.
How long ago was that control taken by Jeff? Because I'm just intrigued, because the last season that I've seen, the latest one that I've seen is 37. So that was the one, David versus Goliath, that's the last season I've seen. So I haven't seen anything beyond that. What did he have that level of control then, or has that been since then?
He did, but his involvement has gotten increasingly more since he became executive producer. And I can't remember when that was, but it was before season 37.
Right.
This season, I don't know. It's bizarre, but I think they may even watch my YouTube videos because they have made adjustments that correlate with things that I say. I don't know, but it could be just on their own that they're learning. But I think now that this upcoming season, the next couple of days, it's going to be 90 minutes.
Right.
I think that will give us more of who the participants are, and then connect us again with the experience, because we watch. I think this is why Survivor works. We watch introspectively. We can't help it. Would I do this? Why is she doing that? Right. Oh my gosh, I couldn't. The first thing you said to me was, I could never have done that. We think of it the way we would approach it. And I think that's powerful.
Yeah, and my son's the complete opposite to me, because, as I said, the new UK version is coming back later this year, and he's saying, I really want to go on this when I get old enough. So let me tell him this. Where is he? Let me tell him this part. If he's saying to you, is he coming? There he is. Can you see if you're saying to your dad that you really think you can do it and you really want to do it, I can't tell you how many idiots I've heard say that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And you know what? None of them send in an application. Send in an application. If you really think you can do it, think about how you're going to express who you are and show them why you can win. Put that together and send it in. Don't just walk around going, I can do that. I think I'm going to do that. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people keep telling me all the time, oh, I would, I should, I could, I'd win. Oh my God, it's unbelievable. But send it in. Somebody's going to get selected. Great advice.
Very few of the players that I've seen, and I've never missed an episode, are really, really, really playing well.
Right.
So often, the majority of players are lost in the difficulties of the game and the emotions and being out there and et cetera, and they lose sight of the game. So anyone that I see that maintains a grip, and I can't talk about some of who those are because of the seasons you haven't seen.
Right. Okay.
And some of who who had another chance and used that chance so brilliantly. You'll know once you see it.
Okay.
So brilliantly. You have to credit that game. That's what I'm drawn to. Someone that, okay, they saw what they did, they recognized the problems, and look at them play now. Brilliant.
Okay.
And you'll know when you see it.
It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a rare thing. And I don't want to undermine them or make light of it. The game's hard. It's really, really hard. So it's not as if they don't want to play well. It's literally a matter of capacity. I think very few people can manage the no food, the exhaustion, the heat, the bugs. I mean, one on top of the other thing are they're just overwhelming, literally at times.
I do love the fact that it's well, when I try to explain to people, because obviously over here we've only had those 2 seasons which weren't that successful back in the early noughties, and we never had the US version over here. I don't think we ever did anyway. I never knew of it. So whenever I've mentioned it to anybody, nobody knows what I'm talking about. But I can get where Connor, my friend, was coming from now, because he just wanted to talk to people about it. He had no one to talk to about it. And I'm feeling like that now. I watch it with my son, so I can talk to him about it. But,
good.
But I love that. I'm sure that everyone's probably okay if it goes on it, or most people are probably okay to go on it. But there are always some people that I couldn't stand that were on it. And of course, there are people that you love. And then find out stuff about them later on. You think, maybe they're not so great after all, don't you? But
yeah, they're people are people, and there are some good folk and there are some, pretty awful folk. For me, there's some clearly, troubled people like Russell Hance's nephew. But there are other folks who are problematic for me, and I just would rather not even have them on the screen. Anyone who takes whatever's going on outside the game, anyone who's like angry for someone who's playing well, angry at them or belittles them for how dare you, when they lose sight of that, you just don't belong there from my perspective. That's I don't know, it crosses a line for me, and it's just not fun. It's not interesting. It's just a matter of I hate stupidity. I think if you're not bright enough to understand that you are playing a game, and if someone bests you, then you ought to have respect for that, not like anger. But it's common, I think, in sports. I don't know. Maybe people get all mad, you tackled me. What? Football.
I don't know what you think of him, but I really like Tony. Tony won 29, was it? 29, I think it's 20.
Well, come on, if you keep talking like that, I'm going to spoil something. I don't want to spoil something for you.
Don't spoil anything for me. Okay. But I liked him, but obviously some people I know my mum didn't like him when she watched. I got her into
it. Well, he didn't play well.
Okay.
So he didn't at first. I mean, much of what happened, I don't know if you followed it. I don't know what kind of detail you follow it in or when you were drawn to him, but so many lucky chances happened, and that they do to many people, but for him particularly, holy crap, one after the other, a thing kept wow, I could have been gone. Oh my gosh, if they had, that was, I shouldn't have done. It was one thing after the other that was luck.
Right.
But
I think it was the Spy Shack. When he made his Spy Shack.
Well, he's entertaining for sure. But keep watching is all I'll say there.
I will do. Yeah. And I love that Sandra won twice as well. That was great.
She's a character. I know her very well. I've spent a lot of time outside the game with her. She's the queen stays queen, as she says. Yeah.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but me and my son were in a pub in Leicester the other day, and we could have sworn that Sandra was in the pub. And there's no way that it was her, but we were looking, thinking, that really looks like her. And that also looks like her husband as well. So
Oh, it very well could be. She travels, and she really, really travels a lot. They're really comfortable. You know, he had a full-on career, and she won that show twice. And they don't, you know, they're not like extravagant livers. They're not partiers. She has the money to do what she wants to do, and so she does travel a lot. I don't know if you follow any of her social media, but I can't keep up. You know, I don't know what state she's in.
There's one reason I don't follow certain people on social media, because I don't want to get spoilers. I won't get any spoilers from you. That's what I'm saying.
Right. So but, you know, we didn't have social media. When I won the original one,
I know.
It hadn't started yet. So
yeah, sure. Did you ever think when you were on it, did you ever think this is going to be huge, this show?
You know, this sounds egotistical, but yes.
Really?
So before I went on the show, I told producers that this is something that's going to really connect with people. And I told them the same thing I'm talking to you about, this introspective thing. People are going to be drawn to this. I think it's going to be real. And I thought it was going to be huge, is what I said. And I think they thought I was just trying to get on the show, which of course I was, but that was a different game I was playing with producers. I was playing cocky too. I told them I was going to win, and, you know, the whole bit. I even made one of the cameramen and producers who were asking me questions stop. I pretended to get angry at him because he kept saying, "If you win," and I said, "Listen, I've told you 14 times now that I'm going to win. So if you don't ask me the question the way it should be asked, I'm just not going to answer you anymore." And they thought, what a prick, you know, because I was being a prick, you know, I was being awful. But I knew they wanted a character, and so they selected me because they knew I was such an ass. I'd be the first one voted off. That's Mark Burnett's written that, and, you know, he said in real time, that's why we picked him, because we knew he'd be the first one off, and that's great for planning. We knew that we could count on who would go first. Yes.